and welcome to Technology Vision 2023. It's my pleasure to welcome you in one of TechZity's locations called Tech Park, and I am TechZity's Head of Community and Events. So our motto is infrastructure for success. And in other words, we combine a community of companies and individuals, all successful in their own way. So I believe that to be successful, especially in the innovation ecosystem, you have to embrace emerging trends and follow, all the changing market trends. So that's why I'm very happy to have friends as Accenture who came here and made this event happen. And in fact, that you came here on such a nice Friday afternoon means word to us. So thank you for coming here, either physically or joining us virtually via the live stream. Hi there. And I think that this blend between physical and virtual worlds nicely reflects the main topic of Technology Vision 2023, where, spoiler alert, we will explore 4 major trends that will shape the future where atoms meet bits. So without any further ado, please put your hands together for the man of the show, Head of Innovation for Accenture Baltics, Kristaps Banga.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks TechZity for this really nice place. We were visiting already yesterday some other places in this district. I really enjoy this also blend of the culture, tech, and creative people who are here. So really happy, as you said, also seeing you so many in physical world. So you can do a hashtag ERL when you're doing some posts. So it's in real life. So the rest knows that they are missing a lot. But still also hello to those who are online. We'll be covering today a bit of a sneak peek on the trends which is coming from Accenture already for the 20 years. But then we will have even more interesting discussion with an ecosystem from different angles, what's happening here actually in Lithuania, in those interesting and creative and innovative companies, and how they are applying new trends and looking for even new trends to expand their borders, both physically and also digitally. So let me go through the presentation, and as introduced topic of this presentation, as every year Accenture puts any specific topic. Previously it was Meet Me in the Metaverse, and we see that it's actually happening very rapidly, and a lot of activities, a lot of the projects is happening all around the Metaverse. So in this year, we're predicting the next topic is about when atom meets bits, right? So it's actually a direction similarly. We're extending on the previous steps where Metaverse is already closing this, meeting people, blending this virtual and physical. But we see this is now also with the boost of OpenAI and other technology kind of progress, we will mention later, this is getting even more closer and closer. And why it's important, because for us as a human beings, it's more natural things how we do, right? And not all the things how we currently or previously done in a digital environment, those are so natural, right? But we used to that because there was no other option, right? So one of the reasons why OpenAI and this kind of specifically ChatGPT was evolving so quickly, because it's also tapping to the very natural kind of way how people would like to interact actually with the technology. Because we are lazy, right? We don't want to find, we don't want to kind of do some programming. It's so easy just to ask and receive something, right? So that's one of the things actually why this growth was so exponential, because it also covers not just the tech side, but also how this user experience side, right? And this is also what we try to every year cover within these technology trends. Even it stands for technology trends, but it's important that you look on this on a wider scope, right? So tech in sake of tech, it's nothing, right? So you should look on that in the context, what's happening globally, what's impacting also our way how we work, how we live, and how we consume different services, right? So let's jump further. As introduced this year, there is 4 trends, and it's focusing on the generalizing AI. We will talk later more in depth. So what we see on this topic, it will be a lot about digital identity and data. Again, as I said, it's coming still from this topic on the metaverse, or even more on the Web3. So Web3 was actually the how to say, the beginning or the boost of the different digital assets and digital identities, in a sense that it's not just for the personal use or private use, but it's also a lot for the product or assets, right? And the last but not least is a topic I'm really passionate about, and where I'm spending already last half year of my job. It's about the science tech, it's about the deep tech, and we will see also how that is influencing, because it's not anymore about informational technologies. It's also a lot about operational technologies. So again, coming back to this generative AI and large language models. And it's also about the science tech, because this is blending all together. So as an example, because of the possibilities of AI, you can do a lot faster drug discovery, for example, right? Just one example. So to give a bit of, for normal people, a deep dive, so what's actually under the trends, right? You will be maybe familiar with some of these tag words, so it's easier to read through what actually is behind this trend, because I will not go into a lot of the examples, but as you see for digital identity, as I said, it's a lot about the Web3, about the possibilities what blockchain provides as a kind of a trust, which was previously, we know that there was a lot of actually possibilities to cheat on the digital environment. So it's of course a lot about the tokenization, NFTs, all that stuff in different angles, right? So my data, your data, we'll talk tomorrow. One example will be on a digital twin, but we will later speak also more about open AI, open data, and what we can do with these data availabilities. And again, one is what is possible from the data perspective, but again, from the technical perspective with the boost of the 5G and also the satellite communications. Then on AI side, I think it's kind of straightforward. A lot of the topics in the media, in the different kind of communities about this topic. Still, I think it's good to kind of look under the hood what's happening, and we will have very interesting guests here to talk about that. And the last but not least, as I said, yeah, it's coming closer to the commercial business. It's not so much anymore living in the academic. So we making this intersection between academic deep tech to the more commercially or applied deep tech much more. And definitely it's because, as I said, on the promise of different new technologies like quantum computing, but also with the existing technology possibilities, whether it's these large language models or whether it's some the same kind of computer vision. So basically you can accelerate a lot of the things which were previously not at that level, and they were more sitting into the academic segment. So they are now stepping out. And we will have also a discussion again, not just from the tech side, but what we can do as a nation, as a Europe, to actually accelerate that and benefit and then give more to the society. So on AI side, I just wanted to cover a very important point about where is these areas of application, because and some of the applications is actually straightforward, of course, as we discussed, right? Advising, applying these large language models, kind of looking into the complex amount of the information, and really in a short time advising on some possibilities. Creating, of course, we see that a lot in creative industries. There is a lot of dispute about this kind of generative AI applied for the arts, and about there is a different kind of fields of somebody who is kind of willing to get quickly some interesting stuff. They're voting. That's fantastic. Of course, the creative industry kind of is looking forward again how to keep their authenticity, right? but trust me, there's also solutions. There's a companies who is looking into that, how to apply through the blockchain, as well as some kind of digital watermarks. So basically, AI model can't look under the hood what actually is this design. So there is a solutions also for that. Automation, as we discussed, and there will be also a very small example, of course, with the newest possibilities of the OpenAI, it's even more faster possible to automate different things. Automate, but as well augment, and we will talk later about how we fusing this together, human plus machine, right? So we don't need to be afraid that it's fully automated. We need to think also on these things, how we actually can do this augmentation by blending these things together. Protecting, it's not talked so much about how generative AI can be applied to also protecting, but let's just make a basic example of some different compliances or the regulatory about, for example, money laundering, right? So it's again a tons of complex information which should be kind of looked through, and again by applying these new possibilities of AI, it's getting much easier, right? And of course, coding, it's radically changing how today is possible to do the coding, right? So we know that there is already for some 2-3 years is this term about the low code or citizen code, right? So it's basically that you don't need to do hardcore coding. It's more about the putting logics in place. But again, coming back to this very beginning example about that we like to use or interact with the technologies as we interact with each other. So now it's possible actually just to talk or explain the code, and there is a models who can translate that to the basic kind of web pages or mobile applications, right? So imagine, again, what are the opportunities for people who would like to be entering the IT industry, no matter what the gender, no matter what the experience, they are now are able to convert their ideas into the end products. Even they previously maybe were afraid that they are not so deep tech geeks, which now gives them possibility, right? So I think, again, it's a really big possibility kind of under this tech for good possibilities to accelerate into the areas where we previously wasn't. So a small example of CarMax, it's a used car retailer in the US. So previously, they were stuck in a problem, and as they estimate, it would took them like 11 years to come up with the kind of summaries of the insights, right? By applying and customizing these AI models, they were able actually to radically decrease the time, and it's more important also to come up to the very important solutions for them to later on make decisions and insights and future sales, right? Good. So this is on the first point. We will deep dive later with the audience on next thing. So let me show you one example about the digital twins. And again, this fusing this border between the atoms and bits. So fusing this, what was already enabled by the metaverse like a year ago, maybe even more, but now making this even more applicable because of this AI possibilities, possibilities of low orbit satellites, which gives 5G or internet basically in the areas where previously it wasn't possible to run internet. So for example, for the mining industry, not here in our region, but for example in Africa, right? These areas are mostly where there is no 5G or 4G, right? To make these tracks autonomous or to make them even just intelligent or connected, it requires an internet, right? And now with these possibilities of low orbit satellites, like example Starlink, right? It's possible to enable this intelligence to the things which was previously not able. So again, imagine what gives these opportunities in other areas, right? Digital identity. We also have today a very interesting guest with a big experience in digital identity. We definitely will deep dive on this topic. But let me give you one example again. We spoke that it's about the tokenization. It's about also changing the way how companies can interact with their users. So in a sense, their customers and users becoming kind of like stakeholders, right? Small ones, but they are enabled through different kind of incentivizing, converting some of the loyalty points, as we previously knew, to the tokens, and in that sense, they can be a small level shareholders, stakeholders, and kind of influence also how the company operates. But it's also what's important under this digital identity topic is that these new technologies, new possibilities allows us also to exchange these things much faster, right? So it would be hard to imagine that previously you would be able to transfer, I don't know, your Rimi or Maxima points to some other like friend, right? We were always laughing that we can pay with those stickers, right? But nowadays, actually, you easily can do this exchange of these tokens, and everybody wins from that perspective, right? So the last but not least is about science tech, right? As I mentioned, this is coming closer to the business, coming closer to us as the users, and there is a different fields where this progress is happening. I will deep dive more on the space tech, as this is something where I'm personally involved, because I'm also leading a space technology innovations for Accenture in Europe, and I will show you how actually space technologies can enable a lot of the use cases to the industries which were previously maybe even not aware that they could use these possibilities. But it's similarly affecting health tech, biotech, also on the next-gen computing, right? So high-performance computers. It's not only about the quantum computing. There is also different interesting directions where we will talk probably also later with one of the guests on what is these changes happening in this deep tech area and how that can be relevant to the business and how that can solve new problems and possibilities, right? You can scan this QR code, so it's a public web page. You can access it. So there is a very short, but at the same time very precise information about what are the verticals, how the space tech can be applied. So there is basically 3 directions. It's a top-down, so it's basically space to Earth or downstream, how it's said in the industry. Then it's upstream. It's from Earth to space. What are the different kind of possibilities? And then there is this 3rd dimension, is space and beyond, right? So the space traveling, space tourism, space entertainment, which probably currently seems far away, but trust me, with this speed of acceleration, and as you have seen with these activities, what is also commercial segment like Elon Musk is doing, it's really accelerating fast, right? And just to give you an example, so you can actually do a testing, for example, for the space entertainment here on the Earth, because you can simulate pretty much the same situation, for example, under the water, right? You can do a small kind of place or some hotel, but under the water, so you can really experiment how it is that you are not able to go out, that you are limited to some kind of oxygen things, right? Some securities, and this is already actually happening. And I know that there also were discussions previous year on the Deep Tech conference that also Baltic Sea could be participating in this Nordic campaign around testing out some of the underwater experiences. Just to give you a very snapshot on that, as I said, it really covers a lot of the industries. It's not just stuck to the, I don't know, like maybe what first comes in mind, like defense, right? That you can apply satellite imagery and do some kind of defense things, right? So it's a lot about the agriculture, where you previously, maybe some companies were applying drones, but again, it's limited in a scope, right? So imagine you have a huge forestry, or imagine, again, it's in Africa or in States or in Australia where this agriculture, it's in a different size. We even can't imagine probably here. Or it can be also, again, tech for good, right? So wildfire is a very big thing, right? So a lot of the kind of assets are kind of distracted, a lot of the woods are burned out, and also people are affected, right? So by applying kind of Earth observation, you can easily detect much faster where it starts, but it's more important by applying these algorithms, you can understand where it starts to lead these fires, right? Where you need to do evacuation, where you need to prompt some rescue teams. So that makes a very big help. Where as well, it's important, we know we talk everyone about sustainability, right? So it's a huge topic also for the cities like Vilnius, right? How can we prove or to ourselves, or how can we track how green we are, or what is the progress of what we are doing, right, on the mobility? So again, Earth observation, it's not just about taking pictures, right? So there is lots of different satellites and lots of different ways how you actually gather this information. So it's a spectral information. It can be also just a radar information. So you can even receive kind of understanding what's happening on the Earth also through the night, right? So you can detect different gas leakages, right? So lots of opportunities. So I would recommend really to stay tuned to this topic. So with the boost of these commercially players coming into the play, right? And it's not only Elon, right? It's also Bezos coming into the game. So space tech is not anymore organized just by the government, right? So it's much easier everyone to get these services. So this is rising about as a service, right? So you can be a startup, you can be existing huge company, and previously maybe you were requesting, I don't know, some snapshots once per year. Now you can do also asset tracking, for example, right? We have in the Baltics this huge project, for example, Rail Baltics. So imagine it's easy to do this constant tracking of the big, huge scale project progress by actually doing a snapshot, applying an algorithm, and you can then see actually, is it coming to the same speed as it should be, or there is some delays in some of the, I don't know, construction lines or some other things, right? So think about that more. So today we'll be digging deep into the topics with the industry players on the how business is ready for that from the different angles, and why it's important, because reinvention with the speed of technology which is needed. Some companies already doing this reinvention because if we look then any big company, and not only big company, in a sense, it is a technology company, we want it or not. So whether there is a component of e-commerce, whether there is a component of how you're gathering the data and working with those CRMs, and technologies, these new technologies, and OpenAI, it's really an example how this is driving this progress, right? But when we look in the facts globally, then actually not a lot of the companies are applying reinvention, right? They are on the way to that, but they are not yet there. So this is also will be one of the discussions, who need to do what actually to accelerate that. So very shortly, this was intro from my side. You can find more, as I said, this is a publicly available report, really deep dive, and it will be updated also with some sub-industry updates even more. And you can also ping me if you have an interest in some other conversations. But now we will shortly lead to the discussion with a great audience. And as I'm not speaking Lithuanian, I need to read it, and generative AI is not saying in my ear. So I will be asking some of our guests to the stage. So Andrius, CEO of the Soverio. Yeah, we have two Andrius. Yeah, but you can also stay. Another Andrius is SuperHow. Yeah. So we have two Andrius to make it more complicated, guys, right? But we have only one Žydrinas. Z. Right. Yeah. Hello, guys. So to kick it off, yeah, please take a mic. It's up. Yeah, it's ready. So to kick it off, discussion for the audience here on the place, but also for the audience online. Let's go round table, shortly telling what industry you are representing. And what is the latest trend you see the biggest effect and influence into your business from the growth perspective? So one of the Andruses can kick off.
Yeah, I'm Audrius from Soveria. All my professional life, I am in IT services. I was at various roles. Latest 10 years, I'm running my own consultancy business as well in IT services. And most recent, our, let's say, investment or our project is related to Soveria. It's a company built specially dedicated to very narrow technology part, digital identity, but with a lot of use cases, thousands of use cases. Because
can you quickly name one?
Identity for self-driving cars. We all talking about self-driving cars, but nobody is talking what will happen if such empty, because it could go empty, self-driving car will arrive at country border. How customs officer, how border officers will talk to this car. Is it allowed to cross a border? Is it allowed even to be on the road? Of course, it will not come tomorrow, but this is a good example why we need digital identity. In general, it's a connection, our digital life to our physical life, because up to now we do not have proper connection. So this is where we're working, and yeah.
Cool, and that's happening here on the ground here in Vilnius.
Yeah.
Super.
So, hello, I'm Z. I'm head of product development at Oxy Labs. So, nice to see you all. A bit nervous. Yeah, what is Oxy Labs? Actually, we provide a premium services globally on proxies, proxy networks, and web intelligence collection services. And actually, what we enable is a large-scale data gathering. And I think what is important to us is that we believe in greater good to open data for everyone. So that's our vision and our motto, and it's a part of our culture. So I think, it's very important to speak not only about data gathering, but on ethical side of it as well, and how it applies in today's activities, even digital identity, right? Because data is everywhere. Yeah. So I think our role is here to be as transparent as possible and to actually kind of complement your report as well.
Yeah, so thanks. I think it's a good point that every leading company in the field, right, they need to think not just from the business perspective, but as you said, from the ethical perspective, right?
Yeah, because there's many implications. Usually we talk about businesses, but there are other players as well, NGOs, NPOs, institutions, universities, even small businesses or individuals who are trying to build something like we were someday before, small individuals trying to achieve goals. So I think it's really important that somebody out there provides this as a tool.
Yeah, thanks. Audrius?
Hi, Andrius from Superhow, co-founder and CEO. So Superhow is quite related to Accenture. It is related because we actually took Tech Vision of 2019 and we selected that DarkQ stack, which was DarkQ Power, the first of the trends, as our technology stack that we are working. So Superhow is, DarkQ is actually blockchain, artificial intelligence, extended reality, and quantum computing. So four, I would say, major breaking technologies that are in our lives making the biggest change in the current 5 years. And basically we're a private research and innovation lab. So the idea was to gather the brightest people in one room who can do things, do research, do prototyping, rapid prototyping, application research, applicable research, and to build the competences in Lithuania. So basically 85% of that list that you showed in the second slide is our focus, is our background that we work with. And yeah, today we have more than 50 experts.
Wow, cool. That's interesting insight. You said that you basically grew out of the insight from the one of the previous technology visions, right? So can you very shortly elaborate? So what were, I don't know, like the 3 steps what you did? So you read, you saw, oh, I see there is a trend, And
Yeah, so basically we started with the blockchain. So major of our co-founders, me, Vytautas, Linas, were coming from that. Linas was coming also from artificial intelligence. So we were thinking about, and we're pretty strong speaking and basically like rooting for synergy of the technologies, that you don't need to focus on one technology. You need a stack of the different technologies in order to progress better. Blockchain, AI, virtual reality. Now we have metaverse, which is actually all those three together and many more. So that was like fundamental for us and encouragement for us to go into that direction. Because when you're actually working in a research field, the trends where this is going forward, the vision is pretty important. Because otherwise you are irrelevant, your services are irrelevant.
Exactly.
And our goal was to be relevant, not today, but for the future-proof company, basically.
thanks. Audris, we met yesterday with some of you, so no disclosure. So we touched yesterday, and it's actually a question to all of you when we're discussing about these disruptive technologies. So this is a much wider discussion also on the topic about the trust, right? Do we as a users trust? What is legacy? What is policy in a place? So from digital identity perspective, what is the role of the trust? Is it helping? Is it not helping? What is the status in Lithuania or in the client's portfolio in general on this topic?
From new approach of digital technology related to digital identity, actually trust is one of the fundamentals, because remotely, when you do not see anyone from another side of the world, it's very important to prove that you are talking with whom you are talking. Yeah. Coming back to your slide where these key points you expected to discuss today, actually in all of them, digital identity should be. And actually only recently, last few years, was found the way how to implement properly digital identity. It should be secured, it should be trust. And as well, when we are talking about digital assets, it should be possible to prove your ownership of digital assets, and everything is related to digital identity, the way what we did not have yet. For example, you can't prove that you are above certain years old remotely. It's impossible. You can't prove your education remotely easily. You can't do a lot of stuff. And
as is, right?
Yeah, as of now. And Lithuania, I think, maybe coming back to a question, I think in this case, Lithuania, here we have quite good situation. Because not of new technologies, but because what we implemented based on old technologies. We have a lot of registers related to our country. And this is a possibility to identify ourselves legally remotely. But the problem is coming, much more bigger problem coming when we would like to combine such type of identities between different countries. And this is a key challenge for European Union. And I would say European Union now is a leader worldwide to solve this problem. Because other countries solving such problems within one country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Inside the EU, all separate countries already did in one or better or less better way. But now European Union is very much in advanced position to solve, let's say, because databases, registers between different countries have different formats, and from theoretical point of view, to consolidate that in a current traditional technology way is possible, but from a practical point of view, it's impossible. So in this case, yeah, short answer, yes, we have quite good situation in Lithuania, but a lot of stuff is coming through this consolidation on EU level.
Žydrūnas, if I would ask you so about the trust, so when you're doing, as you said, about reaching and researching and scraping this open data, so for the audience, basic audience, so how can we trust that this information you are looking all around, that it's kind of compliant, it's coming from the trusted source, or yeah?
That's a really great question. I mean, we do see from time to time already asking people that question to us as well. It's very natural. But so far as today, to our understanding and on industry's understanding is that if data is public, should be available to everyone. Because if you go with public data, means that you're aware what you're doing, that you're accountable, that that data that is publicly available doesn't have any sensitive information, right? Because, for example, I would not like that fact that my personal code is publicly available, you know. But the trust is that, and it's a good topic, intro topic into data transparency, right? Because if we take this data and it's there, we believe that it's for a purpose, for a fair and competitive use, right? So, and basically we say, yeah, that's it. I mean, there is a free open data available. It's not restricted with any kind of, you know, protection measures, logins, etc. It's free to use. I mean, otherwise, even if there would be a disclaimer, like saying, you know, oh, no, do not use this data, then we would question why in the first place it's made public, right? There's only one component, but in our industry, as I mentioned before, there's an element of ethical approach. That is, it's really important to understand what you're trying to achieve with taking this publicly available data, what you're going to do with this, how it would serve your needs or other needs, like, you know, for example, in the digital identity. Right? One good example of trust is Lithuanian government. They opened a lot of data, and that data is available freely, right? You can take this data and do some research on it, build new decisions. It's really important that we have this trust, even from governmental agencies, you know?
I think you touched a point I wanted to ask to Andris about, that this open data accelerates the new research and this kind of, again, conversion, right, to the new topics, and specifically also in the area of the deep tech, right? Whether it's a health data, whether it's a city data. So, yeah, how you see, Andris, this?
Yeah. So there is a big, I would say, big gap in a full understanding what is private data, what is public data, what is intellectual property, or what is owned by me, still public, but I'm still owning that. So, and there is lots of confusion in that right there. We have regulations, we have, you know, legislation, but in a digital world, it is not so easy actually to maintain that order. So, how many of you know about Next Generation Internet Initiative by European Union? So if to read that, so the digital identity or decentralized digital identity is one of the big part of the scope for Next Generation Internet. Another one is for decentralization of data. Yeah. And that decentralization of data is not just only institutional data, open data, or any data, but about the data that belongs to the person. It is not necessarily personal data that I am protecting as identification number or something, but also content that I have created, which is my content, it belongs to me, and I wouldn't like to be used by others without the royalties or participation into the business model that this person is doing with my data. So in that perspective, digital identities, decentralized digital identities, digital assets, digital twin, phygital, which is digital, physical, yeah. And lots of different perceptions is coming into the focus of researchers as well as companies, how to make that possible, how to actually connect those dots and those missing or sometimes even misleading regulatory regimes, which are outdated. Already know that GDPR, when it was released, it was already outdated because how the industry has progressed and it doesn't comply with what we can do, actually. So this is my perception, and there is, for example, for artificial intelligence, I think in the future it will be a big challenge actually to perform well without edge computing, which means that this model has to sit on your mobile phone or your something that has the access to your data that only sits on your thing and perform in the same way as just ChatGPT, which I am feeding the information. And it has information to everything that is on the internet without any limitations.
Yeah.
So that's...
Can any one of you name some, I don't know, good examples what currently is in Lithuania where open data is already somehow embedded, or digital identity is a good example, so the audience can understand this quite of a complex discussion more to the practical example?
Before I will answer, I would like to add to agree with what Audrius said regarding this gap. It is some, let's say, framework, idea. It's a self-sovereign identity approach where people thinking how everything should be managed from a personal point of view, from a personal data point of view, and etc. So I think maybe it's too big topic today go deeper, but yes, I totally agree what Audrius is saying regarding this gap. But on another hand, as we did not have proper identity on the network, so it's, I would say it's just beginning, and we will see a lot of stuff, a lot of maybe mistakes and etc. Coming back to a question on Lithuania, I would like to say very interesting and nice fact about Vilnius University, which started this year to teach fintech master's degree studies to add the digital identity, and especially what is related to upcoming new approach within European Union. So I think it's a very good example how education, biggest education entity in Lithuania looking ahead of future.
Yeah, we'll deep dive into the education and talent topic in a minute. Yeah. So your example from the market on open data, great usage here in the region.
Yeah, we have a few. Actually, we have at least one award on that. So the award comes from the governmental institution. Actually, we collaborated, and it's pro bono project. So what we did is we actually scanned the public data available on internet, let's say Lithuanian scope, and scanned for illegal children photos with sensitive content. And we report this to governmental institutions, and and they do their work, and they were happy with our results. But basically, it's available data, but it's not like institutional governmental data. Right now, I'm happy to announce that we are in the second governmental project where, indeed, if we would had more open data, it will be much more successful. And not to say that we are failing somehow, but we're saying that those data sources that we are working with are not open yet. And those sources are basically advertisement industry in Lithuania. For example, one of the particular cases is that we are looking for illegal stuff for sale, which is forbidden by the law, by the legislation, to sell or to even mention it on a social space. And we are building a solution to detect that and report to the governmental agencies. So basically, we kind of becoming a open data provider for others. And this is very interesting narrative because the good example should come from public sector anyways, because businesses are always, well, okay, so sometimes business is innovators, right? Innovate solutions, bring you on a table something that you can use and say, look, please, this is the really good thing to do. It will bring you benefits, please do this. But the business sector, the private sector is a bit cautious. You know, they are protective of their data, of their solution. They tend not to share. So, and we think, again, to our vision that we believe in greater good. So opening data, allowing it to use for others, for institutions, for individuals is very important. So I think those use cases is not only that I see that we have in Lithuania, that we do provide as well.
Yep. I will use this moment to introduce Davidas. He is president of Artificial Intelligence Association in Lithuania. Davidas, we had previously opportunity for everyone very shortly introduce what is the industry, what is the business each of you are representing. So maybe you can enlighten us what is this association and how it's relevant to what's happening here in Lithuania.
All right, yeah, thank you. Very happy to be here. Just one extra thing. I am the president of Lithuania's AI Association. I'm also a staff data scientist at Vinted, and I'm also a data science curriculum lead at Turing College. So I do a bit more than just association. But I think it's very relevant.
Long name again.
Yeah. I think it's typically what happens, like to list all of the things that I do, but all of them are like directly related with artificial intelligence. So as an association, what we are trying to do, we are trying to represent the companies and individual experts working in data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. We are trying to solve problems that we have, like as a community or even as an industry with AI, like global or not global, but like Lithuanian level changes or even some legislation that we have, things like that. In Vinted, we obviously also use a lot of machine learning for our product and also for like internal processes. And with Turing College, we are trying to teach data science, like data science and data engineering are one of the two most important programs. So we are trying to provide people with opportunity to learn these topics like in a very practical, very job-related way.
May I ask you this question? Currently, as you represent this AI field, so currently is this topic on the table about should we somehow pause the progress of AI or should we govern it somehow differently? Should we do something else? So what's the official position of the Lithuania here?
We should not pause it.
And why?
Because like all the arguments, I guess you're referring to the paper, the open letter that Elon Musk and like a few other people have signed. So like I read the paper, it is like it's Elon was always about like this long, very, very long-term humanity survival type of thing. This is why he does like electric cars and like SpaceX. He cares about like humans will not get extinct in like the next 1,000 years. From this perspective, the paper is correct. Like we should be very careful about the AGI, that general artificial intelligence, the until very recently, it was only philosophers cared about it, like Nick Bostrom, Eliezer Yudkowsky, that was like Gary Marcus, that was their thing that they talked about. Now, we are like slowly approaching towards AGI, but in my opinion, and in, I guess, most general consensus, we are nowhere near right now. So doing a pause right now, it's like way, way, way too early. And this would be like even harmful because like these developments, as we have right now, would like stopping them would like we would not be getting value that these developments would bring. Imagine like the better, I guess, radiology machine learning model, which would save lives, or like all the productivity gains that we get with ChatGPT, stuff like that. So from this perspective, we are just like getting nothing, but instead we are losing the immediate productivity gains. I think I agree with the signers of the paper that in the long run we should be more careful. But it's like the action suggested to stop all development for 6 months right now. I think this is totally not correlated with the problem that we are trying to solve.
Thanks. Yeah, I would say pretty much agree on the topic. And the message you shared, and I think, of course, and this is where I wanted to talk a bit about the regulation in a positive sense, right? So it's not a kind of regulation in a sense of just adding bureaucracy of bureaucracy. But again, we touched in some minutes before about that not all open data probably are trustworthy, right? So there's also somehow should be regulated who puts it and what is their afterwards kind of implications on that, right? So, and it's a question to all of you. So currently, as this is a public kind of discussion, so if we talk about the governance or the policies, do you see that currently it's all okay, or there is a missing some piece to accelerate more innovations, whether it's from the policy side, whether it's from some kind of availability of some tech or some talent? So what would be your take?
I just maybe one is that actually what we see that, and my background is a bit of data engineering, data analytics as well. It's too many things to put into equation to enable it, to make it simpler. We talk about data transparency, but maybe we need to talk about technology transparency as well. How we approach things, how we do this, right? What are the procedures, or what should be the standards, how we do this, to make it easier for others to to reach, to use it. Because we talk about really about securing data, how to make it more safe, right, regulated, less private things. But we're not talking about how to make it freely available as well. I mean, how can others benefit from it? Because opening data, like if there will be such legislations, like competitive data should be available, then there's a thing in human nature. It's called human potential, that others are trying not only to use your data but research your data as well, to find something how they can benefit to you and improve your business, maybe,
like a
suggest
back
things.
engineer, yeah.
Yes, and there is also AI and things like that can be used on that as well, like feed the data, scientific data, business data, connect the dots and bits, and you would get something really nice out of it, like new medicine that you have never seen, like from public, or that you would collaborate with some environmental control, like sustainability point of view. There's really broad things.
Audris, if I may ask you, so regarding identity, do you see that there is some need from the regulatory perspective, from the government side, or ministries or something, to accelerate?
I would say it's a tricky question, because self-sovereign identity approach, and which, by the way, was very heavily declared by EU Commission when they announced this new approach of digital identity in EU, is exactly contradict to this identity regulation of person, because we have a lot of examples, refugees, not which comes from Belarus, but example was from other countries in the south of Europe Union, when people depends on one bad guy who leads a country, and if that bad guy take from you passport, you have no rights, you have no identity, you have no possibilities, and this is actually should be avoided in the future. And this self-sovereign identity principles gives first right to person. And that person should manage everything what is related to him, and he should give consent to others what he they should know about myself, and etc. and etc. So this, On the other hand, we as a society within the country, we have some obligations as well. And here, government identity issued by government could give you some advantages rather than identity not generated by government. So, it's as I said, tricky question, but we talking a lot about companies who are collecting data about us without our permissions and etc. and etc. So it's open. We're still moving towards something better. But to be honest, I don't know what will be better, but definitely I know that upcoming digital identity created on a recent technology will solve a lot of issues, will solve a lot of problems. And
I think it's coming back to the wider definition of sustainability, right? So it's healthcare, education available for everyone, right? As you said, it's not for those who just have some paper documents, right? But it should be availability for everyone, right? So in that sense, I think it also covers one of these kind of main sustainability goals, right?
Right. Just one cent from my side as well. So the Oxylabs, as a leading provider for data collection services, we also care about this case, like should the data should be used ethically or not. So what we did, we created a association for ethical public data gathering initiative. So where we talk and bring together other providers around the globe to talk about what is ethical data collection, what is not, what is legal, what are the legal implications, and how to teach others. Like how to use it properly. Should we somehow distinguish good data from bad data or whatnot? It's really important.
I think it's a good example that not just to wait that some governance, some policy makers will do some stuff, right? Or it will come as a regulation from EU, but you can act yourself, right? So I wanted, Andris, ask you on this intersection, as you're working into this intersection between academia and commercial side, right? So how do you see what is the current situation here in Lithuania from this collaboration perspective? Again, is business happy, or there should be some help from the government regulation? And then when you answer, we will lead towards this talent discussion also of the potential.
Yeah, so if we're talking about business and science or university collaboration, so I would say there is, let's say, some rocks to be thrown into the science side. And it is not problem with regulation, it is not problem with that there is no incentivization, but there is a fundamental problem with educating scientists. And scientists being more of the artists, like where, I do what I like, I don't care about commercialization, and that part of not caring about commercialization is the big issue.
Like fundamental research,
because you have a big talent actually to use, but you just think about publications, about, you don't care about the application side of the science. And this is the pain that we need to change fast. Otherwise, and I'm seeing that from working with scientists abroad, it is a totally different mentality. Like, there is hunger for, innovation, not from just this artist, I'm created something, I publicist something, but from how it is changing the life of the humanity, how I can sell, earn money, do more science on that, and etc.
So basic from fundamental to more applied, seeing the result, yeah?
Yeah, the problem is, for example, if the business is coming to university and you would like to do something, you're offering the money. So that money is important only for administration, but scientists themselves, even getting that money, they're not very interested in be paid anything. So, and there is no interest of doing something, and how to find that, even coming with financial side, it's very difficult, because this is a fundamental part which is not only in university, it should start from school. You know, you should think about commercial side.
And I would like to use this opportunity as well, if I may. So, in light what had been said, I totally agree, but we also created a special program for that. It's called Project for Better. And what we do is exactly, we're willing to accept and receive a lot of scientific people coming to us with a sense of trying to research something, like they need some data, right? They need collection capabilities, but they are not having that at this given moment, or they don't have even funds. And what we did, we created a program that everyone can apply to it, bring their ideas. What we will do, we will provide funding in a sense of data extraction services, and we provide teaching, and maybe to find some, why, what's your goal, what you want to achieve. Like I think.
And catching up on that, so that's why we actually started the company, why we started the private research.
So we need to
innovation
cooperate.
lab. Yeah. Just to take the best talent in the university, put them onto the tasks and research projects that has financial side, there is a client who are paying for that, and to nurture that culture of that, eager to do something science.
So
I
very
wanted to ask a representative, because I think you were all talking about the scientists, about university, and I think there is a perfect kind of representative, right? So what's your take on what was mentioned here?
To clarify which side you would like me to represent you.
It's up to you. You can fuse it together.
Yeah, because association has both universities and industry. So we try to be this bridge that brings both sides together. So this is why I was joking about which side. But I ultimately agree with what was said. We see some improvements from both sides, both from universities and both from the industry. From the industry, we are seeing more companies which have interesting problems that scientists could work on. And in Vinted, we have collaborated, we had a few collaborations right now with scientists, not yet from Lithuanian universities, but from foreign universities, working on the parts of our product, which is new, and no one else has
research,
for example, marketplace effects that various parties have on each other, and we expect to see more of those in the future, and we expect to see that Lithuanian companies getting bigger, having more interesting problems, would lead to this cooperation between universities and the industry. At the same time, the recent Stanford AI report that was published just, I think, a few weeks ago, this is a global trend. More and more PhDs are coming to work for the industry. I think that trend is for the last 3 years, it's increasing every year. And this just shows that in general, people in the industry are finding more problems where we need these PhDs. It's not enough, to just code a simple website and just start selling something. It's more about the products are getting more mature, and it was a trend again, like Google and DeepMind and OpenAI right now. They're just hiring whomever they can who is capable of improving on their products. So all in all, I think the future is going to be the winners are going to be in the future those who can apply the scientists to get the business value, the product value in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think that was perfectly kind of summarized in this science tech is a huge trend, right? This is, and it's a kind of, I would say, a circle, right? So the technology accelerates possibilities, what the science can do, and the findings through this science, again, accelerate new possibilities, what tech can be, whether from the hardware or software side, apply it. So and it just starts like a snowball, just rolling much faster and faster, right?
And those examples with governmental projects, for example, for searching the online content and distinguishing content, it's purely on machine learning and AI based as well. So we do invest a lot in artificial intelligence as well, even cooperating with NASA, Google, and Microsoft, amongst others, and invite others to also approach us. Because really, as colleague mentioned, artificial intelligence should be used more because it provides a value which you cannot comprehend right now or measure even. You do not know what outcomes you would get, but for sure it will be bigger than you expected.
We'll jump in a second on a topic regarding the talent, because I think let's think on that. And before that, I wanted to ask, maybe there is some questions in the audience, or if not yet, please think. This is interactive discussion, so you just put your hand. Those who are present, those who are at home, not so much, but yeah, put your hand, and we have an open mic, so you will be able to ask any question. But then coming back to the kind of a source, so what is the current situation with the talent in Lithuania? Are you satisfied as a business? Are you satisfied as a science representative association with the quality, with the quantity? Let's go all round table.
Yeah, I can because I have a mic. The answer is it depends. What you're looking for. If you're looking data scientists, it's really short list. I mean, what we have to do as a business to pledge more to this scientific community is to just grow talent pool inside, right? Provide teachings, provide collaborations with others, provide communities, build events, share knowledge. But if we talk about other specialists like developers, like supporting roles, operational roles, there is some movement, but I think, to my sole opinion, the talent pool is somewhat shrinking.
Will you need that in 2-3 years? Maybe that will be totally disrupted by AI.
Yeah, it is a possibility we cannot deny, but for this given moment, we see only exponential growth. So that would be...
To comment on that a little bit, like OpenAI's paper, GPTs are GPTs, I think published like a month ago or something. They are exploring like what this, how their own models, like GPT-4, how we're going to impact different jobs and professions. And one of those that's not going to be impacted is scientists. Actually, they are pretty sure, like both, we ran it with the experts and we also ran it on the GPT-4 itself. Like it's like they don't expect scientists to be disrupted
because they wrote it the document, right?
Yeah, probably because they expect developers or programmers to be like a lot of their job will be automated, but not scientists. But like coming back to the original question, so are we happy with the science like level in Lithuania? I think nobody's very happy with that. As an association, this is one of our like driving factors to make it better. We are trying like to make Lithuania science more international, to connect it with the international community. This was like a very big problem, like it still is a very big problem, but increasingly we had summer school last year that a lot of people from DeepMind and OpenAI and like first case in Lithuania's, I guess, history where we could like intermingle and like connect with these people. Cool. Next year we are going to have like first big machine learning conference, ECML. So ECML 2024 in Vilnius next year. Biggest conference so far in I think any of the Baltic countries, I'm not sure, but definitely biggest in Lithuania. So with this, we hope that this would lead to this international collaboration. We want to see Lithuanian authors on important papers, on papers which are in the, like, cutting-edge fields, and especially like in artificial intelligence in particular, but any computer science topics. And we also have like association. We are a really small association, just to be clear, just a handful of people, that less than 100. We have this grant. So for the first paper by Lithuanian authors working in Lithuanian universities in NeurIPS, we are giving a monetary prize. So we really, really care that Lithuania Science gets more international, more connected, and like in general, we believe this will lead to much better quality.
Yeah, we are small at Sovega, and I guess we do not have yet such challenges like colleagues here. But I would like to touch a little bit different angle, because on the technology we are working now, I started to learn by myself from 2016, and it was during this year necessary to introduce a few developers, actually 5, if I am correct, into this technology, because they come from generic development experience. And what was more interesting for me is that one person said, after initial introduction, said, no, I don't like to go this so deep into learning. So, and another example could be cryptography. How many developers we have who would like to go very deep in cryptography? And it is some fields that motivation becomes very important, especially if we are talking about science side, maybe artificial intelligence part as well. It's possibly we need somehow to slice when we're talking about talents, because in one case we need a lot of maybe generic experienced talents, in some cases maybe on significantly less, but who capable to go very deep and maybe invent something, to write papers even at something new. So, but yeah, I think this angle could be important.
Yeah, I would say let's agree that the word talent is not used in the right direction, or in the right context. So when we're saying talent pool or talent, we just think about the workforce, developers. Talent is a talent, so it's not just developer.
That's
it
why
is
we're
extra.
using word talent.
The eagerness to learn, to new things, you know. So we have lots of actually hurdles finding those people who are talent, not just developers. And at SuperHow, our goal was just to search for the talent, basically, the young people who are still at the university, and to teach them the technology, the concepts, the new models, because some of the models that we work are so fundamentally different what generic developer used to. It changes the whole perspective. We tried to teach the senior devs, and it's a big hurdle, because he already know what he know, and he doesn't know to know more.
It's always harder.
Yeah. And this is a big problem. So to find the real talent. And for example, also what we are facing is to find a talent and also a developer who basically, for example, can develop in C++. So C++ was like 15 years ago, it was like, yeah, you could find lots of people who do that. Today it's extent like it's dinosaurs, like the guys who are with beards and they're not caring about anything. But for example, in a blockchain field, in cryptography, there is plenty of work to do, and we have plenty of projects actually on excellent big corporations where we need that, and you cannot find because everybody just used to work with frameworks. That's the problem.
A lot of the banks run core systems still on the very legacy, right, stuff.
Yeah.
Again, guys with the...
Yeah.
Right. We are closely coming to the end, so any question from the audience here in Tech City? Yes, perfect. Please use the mic, yeah, so.
Okay, so it's not a question, it's rather a thought experiment. Well, it's directed at the president of Artificial Intelligence Association, but anyone could answer, please join. Well, you mentioned Elon Musk, and he also talks about the ethics when he talks about AI. So Google paused their Lambda-based BARD because of ethics as well, and also because it could have hurt the brand. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, you know, and sort of deep mind, you know, revealing the protean universe is one thing. But when we talk about communications, well, we have to talk about ethics, because we actually don't want artificial intelligence to talk about eugenics here, because we had some bad experience in human history. We don't want AI to improve humanity in that way. So speaking about the ethics, here's the thought experiment. Imagine you are running into the room that is under fire. There's a cat, and there's a picture of Rembrandt, cost, say, 100 billions of euros, right? As a human being, if you have a heart and you have 1 minute to save, you know, something, you would always go for the cat because it's a living creature. Now imagine it's a robot run by AI. So what's the algorithm? Would it save, you know, the art that benefits humanity, or would it go for the cat? Here's my question.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thought experiment, like I used to study economics, and unfortunately that probably like ruined my sense of ethics or something like that. Because in economics, we know that companies have very precise values, not even for cat life, but for human life as well. Every single hospital has to, you know, weigh how much, like, should we increase the salaries a little bit, or should we like have more medicine to save more lives? So I might be, you know, like I think it's very healthy for general population not to think that we are worth, as Lithuanians, by the way, like way less than Western Europeans. But like it's good that we are not thinking about how much our life costs or how much it's valued. But I think this is exactly what the models would use, like which one is more valuable in terms of like this arbitrary measure, which is euros or dollars or whatever. Yeah.
I can one thought on that. I think that just think, would algorithm choose one instead of other is human nature. What I would like to suggest that what we would see in the future, and to be just a bit futurist on that, I would suppose that there shouldn't be condition choose one against another. If I would be an algorithm, most likely I would calculate probabilities to catch both and run from the room, because I'm swifter. I'm not a human being limited by senses and feelings, you know, and I can do basically pretty much everything. That's also a possibility.
Okay, so I think let's be let's tell the truth to ourselves. So you're talking about 0.0% of humanity that would save that cat instead of that Rembrandt. So, yeah, but basically, yeah, algorithm, that's what it's programmed. So if the goal is to save the life, it will save the life instead of the value. So it's you know, in that way. But also commenting on that futuristic, so there is a big gap of understanding. So when people are posting the photos of generative AI, look how AI imagines, I don't know, Vilnius or Lithuania, it's actually not how AI imagines anything. So current AI models are based on humanity, on what we have teach them about ourselves. So it is not what AI is thinking about, it is not independent, it is just, again, God created human in his own, like, the same human invented AI in his own picture. So it is nothing what we shouldn't expect. It is an opposite. It is what we should expect, because current models are just extension of our human, you know, behavior.
Maybe I could add another angle to artificial intelligence decisions, because I'm quite often asking myself, when we will start to talk not just about artificial intelligence, but when we will talk about identity for artificial intelligence software, because it's make decision. And now let's imagine a bank where artificial intelligent software is used to identify a person. So who could prove that the software is not hacked, and bad guys already half a year using this hacked software, which making decision, is this person remotely equals to person on ID? And they are pushing own guys for money laundering to open accounts. So, yeah.
But does it save the cat?
I will take both.
Guys, I think it's a very fantastic discussion, and I feel that at the very end we are actually getting even more excited, and these discussions could take much more. So definitely here, physically at the Tech City, we will still have some while after also the official event will close to discuss and have more questions. On the closing note, I would like that every one of you shortly commits on a type of a next morning action, what you will do to influence, to make it better.
Could I answer last one? Yeah, because I'm a little bit, I would say, lazy, and next morning...
You want prompts from them, and then you will generate answers.
Next Monday I will think about coffee, definitely, but not about what to do to save the world.
No, it's a small steps, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm calling this kind of
to,
next morning action. Yeah.
To learn something new, to read something article which you trust, and to think about that, about artificial intelligence, about data privacy, about self-sovereign identity. Yeah, by the way, it's very interesting topic. It is very well-known, defines the name. But if you will look around the internet, you will see a lot of opinions, a lot of different understandings. And by the way, the same it is with Web3. I asked my students to make exercise to found Web3 statements, what it is, and contradicting statements, and they found, yeah.
Well, from my opinion, from my industry that I'm coming from, I think we already do a lot, but it's a great opportunity to be here together with Accenture to spread the word even further, that there's a lot of material available on how to be more ethical and how to do things with more trust and you know how to engage with building it. What are the solutions available here today? And there's a lot of learning materials like blog posts, videos, showcasts, whatever. It's up to you to consume, but I think what's important here is just that we would talk a bit louder about it, right? Use those opportunities, talk with our clients, talk with our businesses, embrace public opinion and teach.
Be ambassadors of this, yeah. Good?
Yeah, I would still encouraging people just to ask questions, knowledge, you know, how, super how. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with Web3, and we're having a Web3 conference this year as well as the last, so the second conference. So those who would like to know what it is, what are the trends, I invite to come. So it will be in autumn. And yeah, so the courage just to understand that you don't know things and just go deep and dive and understand how it works and why it's so.
Use ChatGPT.
There's a lot of good points were said. I think the best one is to go on the internet and argue with somebody on Twitter who you think is wrong. But seriously, I think the best answer was just use ChatGPT. It's AI. It's amazing. It can teach you about itself. Can teach you about anything you want to learn about artificial intelligence. So and you are understanding the tool, how it works by using the tool, which is like meta interesting.
So if you
Well, I would say the best intellect when you combine both. Like we humans, for thousands of years, we were using technology to enhance our strength, power, even intelligence right now. So I think it's not either or. It's like the combination is the most powerful one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think just for the closing, there's a joke about ChatGPT and prompting. Developers are safe because if you want to get something from ChatGPT, you have to be very, very explicit what you want. So I think developers are safe.
Good. Thanks everyone for joining this fantastically interesting conversation. As I said, for those here in the place, let's catch speakers. Let's ask difficult questions. Let's ask how. And to summarize, I think it's important to try out those new things which are coming, right? It's important to look from different angles, whether it's a technical, whether it's ethical, whether it's a collaboration between parties. It's important to read, to be up to date, and to learn up to date. So then we will keep young as well. Right? Good. Thank you, Ron.